Hello, welcome to the Digital Foyer. Mass has ended, the Digital Foyer has begun. Thank you for joining us today for Mass. I'm Matt Vaughn, the communications coordinator here at the parish. On my right, I have Father Simon Lobo. He is the pastor. He is a chin-stroking genius man. And on my left, I have Father Alex Colati, the associate pastor here at St. Benedict Parish. He kind of associates with the pastor. Is that what that means?
I'm associate to the pastor.
Right. Okay.
Associate to the pastor.
You're like the regional pastor?
Yeah. Go
full office on that. Perfect. Well, thanks guys for being here in the Digital Foyer. I got some questions. And by the way, if you have any questions that you would like to get our priest to answer in the next couple of weeks, we will get to them. So write it in the comments, and we will be happy to answer any and all, especially if it's related to the series that we're starting up today. Set Apart, very exciting thing.
Set Apart.
So, Father Simon, where did the series come from? What's the genesis of Set Apart?
I believe it came from the heart of God, first and foremost. But in addition to that, a group of us who are part of the preaching team, we were praying and planning, and we tried to look ahead at different sections of time. So we had about 6 weeks between our last series, What's Next, and our Advent series. And so we looked through the lectionary, so all those readings that are set out for us, Old Testament, New Testament, the Gospels. And so Father Alex, myself, Deacon David, and our seminarian Isaac, I think there's the four of us. And so we were kind of chewing through that. Actually, Isaac did a whole lot of the heavy lifting. And so,
in fact, I think he wrote your homily, didn't he?
That would also be correct.
No, he didn't.
And so he gave me a lot of good material, as did you. And so that's what it was. We get in a room with a whiteboard. We start talking about what are some of the themes that are coming out of the text itself. We really want to be faithful to the scriptures and what's there. And we saw, you know what, there might be an overarching theme about this universal call to holiness. And was it you, Father Alex, who said, since you've been here, the years and years that you've been at St. Benedict, that you've never heard anything preached on this subject?
On holiness. I figured someone's got to bring the holiness, so it's, yeah. No, I just, and we just had a preaching series. We've asked people to sign up for things, Alpha, life groups, that kind of stuff. And thought, let's take a step back and focus on sort of the interior sort of dimension of things. And
yeah, and I think too, when it comes to a lot of the preaching around here, we put ourselves out there, right? We stretch and we strive to talk about things that can be hard and challenging, and it feels nice to finally talk about a subject where I feel pretty confident.
You're an expert.
Like a bit of an expert.
On the question of holiness.
Not true. True.
I like the idea that our preaching series was What's Next, and now holiness. So in a way, it was kind
holiness
of really,
is what's
really
next.
teeing up for it.
That's right.
Something I want to touch on.
And I think you branded the theme just to
it was a team effort.
There was a co-branding.
So one thing you touched on earlier, you talked about the universal call to holiness.
Yes.
That's a very specific phrasing. Where's that come from?
So I actually don't know the answer. One place I've heard it used is Pope John Paul II.
Sounds about right.
He referred to it, certainly. And I think he quotes back to, so he wrote a document called Novo Millennio Inuente in the year 2001, just to kick off the third millennium. So he references it in that document, but he's also referring back to one of the documents from Vatican II, from that ecumenical council, which is called Lumen Gentium. And so in that, there's also a reference to the universal call to holiness. I mean, essentially, it goes back to Jesus himself. He is calling every single one of us to become holy, where he says in the scripture, be perfect as my Father is perfect. So it's that same, be perfect in charity. It's that same right in the scriptures, but throughout the last 2,000 years, there's been moments where we've forgotten that that's our call, and we've had to rediscover it again and again. I made reference to St. Francis de Sales as well in my homily, who is another one of these guys. He wrote the very first writing on the subject specifically geared towards lay people. There had been all kinds of spiritual texts for priests and nuns and stuff, but he wrote what's called the Introduction to the Devout Life. You can check it out. You want to add to that? Am I totally off base?
I think you covered all the bases on that. Yeah. No, Lumen Gentium, I think, is the major. Look, the universal call to holiness.
So that would have been
in
the 1960s. The Vatican Council was 1962 to 65, and that was one of the pillar documents. There's 16 documents, but that's one of them.
Which came out. You talked about perfect, and I just couldn't help but think perfect when you started speaking about Latin, just nailing it, just Crispus.
Yeah,
So if you
I don't
know
know what
Latin,
any of
it's
those words
Foyer.
mean, but I can
Yeah, exactly.
rhyme them off.
Pronounce it pretty well. So, Father Alex, I wanted to ask you, is there an example of someone in your life, whether it's somebody you knew personally or maybe a figure from history or from faith, is there somebody who kind of you want to emulate in holiness?
Great question. Yeah, I mean, for me, the first person that comes to mind is Father Simon. When I'm as old as...
No, an example of holiness. Like someone you want to be like.
holiness.
Someone you want to be
Oh,
like.
I'm sorry.
Someone you would enjoy. Yeah.
You thought you said oldness.
Oldness,
Okay.
oldness. Well, there's a few people that come to mind, like a founder of our community, Father Bob, I think is a great example of a man just who sort of fearlessly pursuing God's will for his life and trying to conform his whole life to God's call, his relationship with God. So he's for sure one of them. Father Bob Bedard, our founder. Some other saints, like some of my favorites, like Saint Augustine, he's up there. I've been getting into Saint Therese of Lisieux a lot. I find myself quoting her a lot in homilies, and she's just speaking to me more and more at kind of where I am in my life, feeling kind of helpless in general, and so her spirituality is really speaking to me.
Is that why you keep leaving roses around? Is that
Roses? No, that's Saint Therese. She's the one.
She's
leaving
doing
roses around. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I will note that.
There you go. Look
Father
it up.
Simon, anybody in your life or in your kind of experience that you want to be more like holiness-wise?
I mean, I would have mentioned Father Bob, and I'm glad you mentioned him. First of all, there's all kinds of parishioners. There's people in this parish who are so faithfully, they're oftentimes, they've been at life for a while, they're more mature. Some women and men who they're fervently praying before the Blessed Sacrament. They're praying, I'm sure, for me and all of us and this parish. Those kinds of people come to mind. And I also think of, we've been really blessed here to have some amazing guest speakers to come for parish missions. People like Father Matthias or a layperson like Jim Murphy, who you just get the sense there's a connection with God. And they're normal people. They're loads of fun. They love to laugh. But there's this, they've been set apart, and that really, those kinds of people inspire me for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Father Alex, I see you've got a piece of paper there in front of you that has a little bit of an update on life groups.
Thank you for noticing,
So,
Matthew.
quick question. How many people have signed up for life groups? Is it like a dozen people? Maybe?
That's a great question. I just happen to have the answer printed on this sheet right here.
Yeah.
We have over 175 people signed up for our 7-week life group.
So
campaign.
surely that means no one else can sign up, though, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, there is some space. We can fit a few more people if you get on it like real fast.
Well,
we can
supplies
fit right
last.
more people. So yeah, you can still time to sign up. Just grab 2 friends and go to our website, stbennedict.ca/lifegroups.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I stepped on that a little bit there. But real quick, but I'm wondering, I would be interested in doing it, but what's the first week? What's that even about? I wouldn't even know.
You're great at asking questions, Max. I want to say, here's a summary of the first week of our video in our very first episode. So it's facing these questions like, what do you seek? What is the deep longing in our hearts all about? Because we're all searching for something, we're all longing for something, and we tend to live out these longings in our lives with the various things that we do, the things we get into. But sometimes we're looking for love in all the wrong places. Sorry to quote that.
Yes.
It's just
Everyone needs a handle
cliche.
on
But anyway, so it's exploring this question. That's week 1. There's still time if you want to jump in this week, you can do it. And if you miss this week, that's okay. But,
Yeah, supplies are limited. I like it because you started off doing a dry read of it and then you started preaching, which I appreciate.
Sorry. I'm a preacher. What can I do?
right.
Can't help myself.
So before we get to the socks, one thing I wanted to ask, do you have any favorite fall activities? We're kind of getting into the season where the leaves have changed, the pumpkin spice is out, the kids are in school, football's in full swing, even in a pandemic. Is there anything you guys like in fall especially? Is it like try on a bunch of sweaters, just look at yourself and see how good you look in a sweater or anything like that?
Sweater weather.
Certain coffee brews or anything like that? Father Simon, how about you? What do you think?
Well, to be honest, fall it's a difficult season because we know that winter is coming next. Winter is coming. And so Many of you know that I sail with a crew in the Bedford Basin here, and so that's a lot of fun. So in the coming weeks, the sailboat is coming out of the water. So fall is really a season of weeping and gnashing of teeth.
So I
would
hear
say.
melancholy, and I'm sorry that I had to kind of, maybe Father Alex, do you have any sort of joy that you can bring to this question instead of
Joy. Well, I remember last fall, one of the things we did, like Monday's our day off, right? And so just find myself sitting in the living room with a warm fire, streaming onto our television.
Right.
And reading books around the fire. Just want to, just kind of, that warmth.
Yeah, the crackling of the Yule log.
Yeah.
Before the Christmas music comes on. It's still very nice.
So, which is, you can stream on Netflix or YouTube.
I will say this, last week, Thanksgiving Monday, Isaac and I went for a hike. For those who are local, you might know Duncan's Cove, which is a beautiful, pound for pound, I think it's one of the most beautiful hikes around because you get a lot of coastline and just really pretty with a little bit of the red coming into the foliage. So, yeah, so you can still hike.
You can still hike, absolutely, even if the boat's out of the water. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, we've gotten to that point of the Digital Foyer where we look at their socks. So every week, these priests are they're really quirky dudes. And so they have funny socks that they wear, and we're going to vote on them. So I want you to see the socks, and then afterwards, in the comments, vote on your selection. Gentlemen, let's see those socks. Let's get to it.
All right.
Count of three.
Father Alex, you seem to be most eager, so let's get you a little spin first.
Do they have to be at the same time?
Well, let's see Father Alex first so we can kind of get a description
okay,
of it.
all right. Am I first? Okay. But there's an explanation. They come from the same person.
That's great. That works.
So, there's a cool design here. What? Now, if I'm getting this right, the design, it looks like what's called Portuguese calçada. Okay. And it's a type of like paving, right? Where they put down all these stones in the ground and they create like artwork out of them.
Yeah.
And it's seen all over Portugal.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, of course, I spotted that right away.
Seen that.
Yeah, I've studied that. So that makes sense. So what kind of, what do you have, Father Simon?
Also,
that's totally different. Okay.
I have the Portugal sardinha, which I think is sardines in Portuguese. And so there you go. So I have also both of these socks coming from Father Tiago. Shout out to Father T.
Father Tiago.
Portugal. He is an amazing priest. He's actually a member of the Divine Renovation Network. I've been on several Zoom calls with him in the last little while with either DR webinars or we were on an Alpha International call just recently together. So Father Tiago is the man. He's, if you're in Portugal or anywhere nearby, check out his parish.
What's it called?
It's in Portuguese. So my Latin is better than my Portuguese.
Fair.
Look him up. Tiago. You'll be able to find him.
You'll be there. That's awesome. Okay, so vote. Go ahead and vote. So is it the Portuguese paving stones or is it the Portuguese sardine? Both compliments of Father Tiago. So yeah,
I give the win to Father Tiago today.
Yeah.
Father Tiago.
He's the ultimate winner, but next week we will crown a winner for that as well. So I believe last week, Father Simon, you won by acclamation. Because that was just...
Yeah, you didn't even show up. You didn't even... It was like you weren't even there.
I didn't want to embarrass you again.
Well, you know what, guys? I'm so glad that everybody who's watching right now could show up for us today. And thank you guys for showing up to the Digital Foyer this week. Doesn't, let the past be the past, let it go.
Let it go.
There's always forgiveness and mercy there. All right, so now we're going to go to SBB Kids Online Church with Laura. Take it away.